We're in Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? Let's proclaim the greatest radio show.
Welcome fans to another Spread Special Edition. I'm your host Jim Sella in studio with JDash and Big Easy. Dash, you and your brother sat down and did another segment without me. You guys are just running the show without me.
I was thinking of never bringing the mic back.
You probably were.
I like this segment though. It was a fun segment. We had to actually pause it because we were just laughing so hard at one moment.
It was those brownies you were eating during the segment, I think.
No, none of that.
All right. Well, you guys sat down and talked about some first-round draft picks.
Yeah, some options for the Steelers.
Trade up to number one.
Trade up to number one. No.
Well, what is their position in the draft this year?
22nd.
22.
He mentions one we could trade up for like we did for Polamalu. Well, go ahead. Just play it. JDash here in Greene County doing another edition of The Spread. I am here with assistant coach for Carmichael's high school football team and NFL draft expert. This guy makes Mike Mayock sound like Chris Berman. And, well, Mel Kiper is just super creepy looking, so I never trust that guy. I'm here with RG2, our draft expert. What do we got today? We're going to talk about who the Steelers could be looking at in the first round of the draft, correct?
That is correct. And, you know, the last couple years, I think Steelers had some luxury of always taking best player available.
Although it didn't work out every time.
We saw that. You know, they depending on free agents they bring in, you know, we're going to look at
Brandon Flowers and Cromartie.
Yeah, absolutely. We have chances to bring in big time free agents, and they always will. Steelers always fill in free agents.
They always spend their money.
Yeah, and you can't argue that. It's not like the Pirates in previous years. Not the Pirates now. But
quit hating.
We're going to look at round one targets that also fills needs. You know, it's so far out yet. May 1st.
We'll do our mock draft later in the season, but can't get into that yet. It's just too much.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to look at some guys I think would be good at corner, the outside linebacker. We got a couple athletes here that.
So we're pretty much just talking defense.
Yeah, most. Well, if they draft offense, you know, it's.
Well, they do need a running back, but it can't be round one for sure.
No.
I tell you that.
No, there's a running back I like later on in round 3 if he was there. From Boise State, I believe his name's J.
J.
Yeah, you gotta love it. Man, that boy can run. He runs well, catches the ball. He's a bigger back. Looks good. I think he'd be a great compliment to Le'Veon Bell. But we'll get more in their later rounds on later episodes. But we're gonna start with corner right off the bat.
Makes sense.
The number one corner, and Steelers would have to move up. It would have to be like they did with Troy Polamalu.
How far?
Well, looking at mock drafts, which are garbage this time of the year, but we've seen them anywhere from, 1 to 15.
Yeah.
If he fell to 15,
it's only moving up. What, 7 spots? 7
spots. Yeah, that could be done.
That's still tough. But
well, they were at 24 and they moved up to 15 to get Polamalu.
Right.
So that's why I picked 15 as the magic number. 22 to 15. They could go 22 to 13 if you go off of that. But his name's Trey Waynes. He's a cornerback from Michigan State, 6'1", 182 pounds. At the combine is going to be the real issue. The only thing they're questioning is he going to run that 4.40?
That's the thing about the combine too. Everything changes once they see this guy run a 4.1. They want to draft him first overall when he's actually garbage.
Trey Archer.
Yeah.
And so anyway, Trey Waynes is the best cover corner in the draft.
I see you have the name Richard Sherman written next to him there. I like hearing that. You better trade up and go get this guy.
Well, it's not a Richard Sherman comparison. It's the Richard Sherman effect. He had 7 passes broken up, 3 interceptions, and 40 tackles. And you're probably going to go, well, 3 interceptions? That's just average. I mean, that's
when you don't throw their way.
That's 3 more than Ike Taylor, though. Remember that?
Yeah.
But no, it's the Richard Sherman effect. People didn't throw his way. He only had, out of all the passes against the defense, 18% of the passes went his way. And he's the starting corner. So everybody threw the ball the other way.
So it's the opposite of Willie Gay.
Absolutely. He's the opposite of William Gay. That is correct. 40 tackles. He's a good tackler. He's coming up, stick you. Not a real big, solid guy. Not a real thick guy. He's tall and he's lean. But
6'1". I like a 6'1" corner. I'll tell you that.
And he's shut down. He can be. I really think he could. And we talked. I heard you guys say in your episode that there's not a corner that could come in and play shutdown, but this guy possibly could.
First year?
Absolutely. I believe he could come in.
When we want him.
Well, we want him, but unfortunately,
This episode's over. We don't even hear any of these other guys. Screw it.
Now, the other guy that, I really like, but, not really typical Steeler, his name's Marcus Peters. And, as much as I was bragging about Trey Waynes, Marcus Peters could be the best corner in the draft.
Well, what's wrong with this guy?
Well, he's a cornerback from Washington. He's 6 foot, 190 pounds. He played 4 games, had 5 passes broken up, 3 interceptions, 23 tackles in 4 games. 3 interceptions in 4 games.
23 tackles is a lot, too. I'd like to see tackling from your corners.
Yeah, that's only in 4 games. That's 6
Exactly.
tackles a game. And the year before that, he had 1 forced fumble, 9 passes broken up, 5 interceptions, 55 tackles. He was going to be the number 1 pick. However, what happened was he got in an argument with a coach, and he started to choke him.
That's perfect. We need someone to choke Todd Haley. I'd bring him in even if he doesn't want to play for us. Just have him sit on the sidelines and choke Todd Haley all game.
Oh, man. Yeah.
So,
Wow.
he's not going to drive down the south side and run people over?
Well, we hope not, but that might be something else that he does. But, choking a coach, that'll get you dismissed from a team every time. He was supposed to be the number 1 corner projected for this year, and unfortunately he screwed that up.
It's tough. The Steelers don't like those type of players, but really, it's hard to pass up talent when it's there.
Yeah, and and a lot of people, I got this as a first-round guy
Does
because he's
he
so
have
good.
a chance to drop down
Absolutely,
to the Steelers?
absolutely. Yeah. There's supposedly, and I have a feeling Steelers is one of them, but they already said there's 5 teams that will not draft him at all, no matter where he's at. So, and
I heard the same thing about Randy Moss.
yeah, and look how that turned out.
Exactly.
And there's, I still believe there's teams that can handle players and there's teams that can't. You look at Randy Moss when he was in Minnesota, he was off and
That
on.
goes back to Mike Tomlin now. I don't know if he's a guy that can handle those type of players. He seems like more of a guy that would go hang out at a strip club with these guys.
Well, and that's a good possibility. I mean, he also thinks Mike Mitchell's arrow is pointing up. So
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if you can trust Mike Tomlin, but Marcus Peters, that guy, it's like flipping a coin, and it would be too much of a risk. And I think we need a guy right now that
There's no chance he'd go to us in the second round.
Well, and that all depends on the Steelers if they, are interested in this guy. Chris Peterson's he's the head coach at Washington, and he's well known for, with NFL coaches, and he's the one that kind of dismissed him from the team. And like I said, there's already 5 NFL teams, and I have a feeling Steelers are one of them. But I don't know, when you need somebody and you got somebody sitting there in the second round,
Yeah.
But go look at what they did with Mike Adams too. I never thought that they'd pick a guy that already failed a marijuana test.
Yeah.
And, had some issues before. And it was a second round. It was a first round guy, and he was sitting there in the second round. So, and Alameda Tamu, he went to
Isn't that the
Steelers
guy-
West.
That's the guy I was talking about. Wasn't he the one that was running over people in the streets?
Absolutely, yeah. And I played basketball against him at Carmichael's. He didn't run anybody over there, so we're all good.
Gotta watch out in the parking lot.
We had our security out there, though. Hopefully Marcus Peters doesn't come down and play basketball because they're supposed to come down this year and play, and I don't want him choking any of the kids. So
Bad news.
At outside linebacker, we got 2 guys. This first one I'm not as high on. Everybody, a lot of these mock drafts, again, early yet, but his name is Dante Fowler Jr. He's from Florida, 6'3", 270 pounds. He's going to be a fast guy. He's going to run a fast 40. He's 270 pounds, too, so he's a thicker guy that I think the Steelers like. If you look at Jarvis Jones, I think if Jarvis Jones starts this year, you got to have a thick guy opposite of him.
Right.
A Jason Worlds, a guy like 270 pounds, that would be somebody that you definitely feel in there. He's more of a run stopper. However, he did have 5.5 sacks, 57 tackles, 12 tackles for loss. That's a lot. 1 pass broke up, 1 forced fumble. They're really high on him. I don't think he played a full season, so I think that's why his sack numbers are down a little bit. It was a little injury concern. But another guy, and this guy's the one I really like. If they're going to pick an outside linebacker, I'd like for it to be Vic Beasley from Clemson. 6'3", 235 pounds. He's a lighter guy. But when he fires off, you can see in college, like you always see, and watch Jarvis Jones film, his sacks, he wasn't touched.
Right.
But when you watch Vic Beasley, he had 11 sacks, and he come off of tackles on 10 of them. So there's a guy that, and it was all different moves. He spins, he rips, he dips, he gets low like Harrison. You see like kind of comparisons at bend and that.
I'm guessing he's fast.
Oh yeah, he can. His first step is quick, and he's really fast and twitchy. And if you get a chance to watch him on YouTube, they already got film out there. 34 tackles, 11 sacks, 21.5 tackles for loss, 2 passes broken up, and 3 forced fumbles. Guys all around the ball. Yeah, and it's somebody that Again though, if you have Jones and Beasley as your outside linebackers, you're light.
Yeah.
And you do worry about stopping the run. But speaking of stopping the run, there's a nose tackle that I kind of like, and you almost have to like this guy. His name, and again, he's from Washington, so he should know Marcus Peters real well. But I don't think Marcus Peters is going to choke this guy because he's 6'2", 332 pounds. His name's Danny Shelton. Let me just read these stats to you. This is crazy. This is a 6'2", 332-pound nose tackle who they believe is going to run 4.6. He has 9 sacks. He led the nation in sacks as a defensive lineman. 9 sacks, 88 tackles.
88 tackles.
Yeah, 88 tackles. Take a look at this. Nose tackles, 16.5 tackles for loss. I mean, and he's getting doubled. Watch him. I mean, 2 fumble recoveries.
If they are going to run some 4-3, they're definitely going to have to bring in another nose tackle too.
Absolutely, and that's why I kind of called his name. I know we have Danny McCullers right now who, people are saying, well, we're not going to draft another nose tackle, but you add Danny Shelton and McCullers in there, and you have Hayward and you have Tuitt and you have and if you do, we talked about bringing Jabal Sheard in. That's a guy that can put his hand down in a 4-3 and go get somebody. So, and Jarvis Jones had his hand down on the ground in college a lot too. I mean, he was a defensive end that majority of the time. And there's one other guy I want to talk about right now, and like I said, we'll get into later segments where we really start breaking this down, but this guy here is just a freak.
Shaq Attack.
Freak athlete. His name's Shaq Thompson, again from Washington. You would think Washington would be...
Would they win 2 games last year?
No, they had a good year, but, Marcus Peters was thrown off the team, so they lost their best corner. But Shaq Thompson is just a freak athlete. It's going to take me about 2 minutes to read all these stats because he was a running back, he was an outside linebacker, he was a safety, and he also kick return and punt return. And he also played quarterback for a couple plays. He actually threw a touchdown pass. And he's about 230-some pounds. He had 61 carries for 456 yards, which is a 7.5 average.
Yeah.
He had 2 touchdowns running. He had 4 catches for 56 yards, averaged 14 yards a catch there. On defense, he had 81 tackles, 1 sack, 2 forced fumbles, 1 interception, 1 TD. He had a punt return and a kick return, both for touchdowns. He played running back, outside linebacker, safety, and he also had 1 passing TD. Talk about safety. I mean, I think he could be a great safety in our system. It's almost kind of like, not to compare him to Troy Polamalu, but a guy that could just run all over the field.
They'd really have to find a position for him before they drafted him, though, because you don't want to draft this guy and say, oh, he could play this, or this. The Steelers need playmakers, and they need them now, so they really got to know what he's going to be able to do for them.
Absolutely, and a rookie can't play more than 1 position coming into the NFL.
Yeah, right.
But if if they are looking at him as a safety, which I don't think he projects real well as an outside linebacker because of his weight, and
right.
I just think he's more of a safety guy, but I think he could be real helpful on special teams too.
Shamarka.
Yeah, and I think what you have here, the problem is I think they got a guy like that in Ryan Shazier, and I don't know if they're going to want another guy that could set at linebacker or and in a 4-3 he could be anywhere from putting his hand in the dirt to being one of the outside linebackers to being a safety, or being a cover guy, and they said that his cover skills are as good as some of the corners.
It could be our short yardage back.
Yeah, averaging 7.5 yards a carry. I mean.
He can be our long yardage back then.
And I think a couple of his longest runs was 80-some yards, so he has that big play capability. They said he's a 4-4 guy, and they think he might run in the upper 4-3s at 220-some pounds. So I think that guy's going to be an athlete, and it's going to take the right team and some creativity to find him a spot, but you can't have enough athletes.
Well, what you say makes me interested in him. I'm going to want to see him in the combine, see what he does.
Absolutely. So... Well, that wraps up our, the guys in round 1. There's ultimately a lot more guys than this, But these are guys that I really like as of right now. And, you know, they could go into the combine and Trey Waynes could run a 4.6 and all of a sudden he turns into a second-round guy.
Well, you're the draft expert, so I'm going to take your word for it. Mel Kiper, you suck, dude.
I don't even know who Mel Kiper is.
Yeah, please believe. Jim, hate. So, you want to hate? No hating? Gonna hate? Nothing from you, huh? So, as you can see, it was defensive heavy. It was all defense. Of course, we're not going to draft anybody on the offensive side in the first round. There's nothing.
It's not needed.
Yeah, there's no reason to do so.
The Steelers' offense is set. The only thing they really need is maybe a slot receiver and a backup running back. That's something you can pick up in free agency, especially with all the cap room they have, or maybe a later round.
Yeah, you can
draft
do
pick.
it in the draft too, but you don't want to spend your first round pick on someone that's not going to be playing that much for you because no one's going to overtake Le'Veon Bell.
What was Mike Tomlin's first year? 2007.
Okay.
Lawrence Timmons, right?
Lawrence Timmons was the first pick, yes.
At 15th pick, we had Timmons. The next year, we had 23rd. We got Mendenhall. The next year, we had 32 and got Hood. Then 18, Pouncey. 31, Hayward. 24, DeCastro. 17, Jones. 15, Shazier. You got to say Timmons is probably the best first-round pick out of Tomlin's drafts, and he's Tomlin's first pick.
What round was to it?
Two, it was second.
Second round?
Yeah.
I would say, though,
What about Pouncey, though?
Pouncey's good, but I don't think... I
That's a
like
good
Timmons
pick,
better.
too.
I think Timmons makes a bigger impact for the team than Pouncey does. Pouncey's been hurt a lot during his career.
That was just that 1 year because DeCastro took his knee out. He was
He
good.
was hurt the year before that, too, for a lot of the year. He had a high ankle sprain that 1 year.
My brother is right there. Their drafting has got better over the past 3 years. If you look back before that, there's hardly anyone still on the team that was drafted in the Tomlin era. But over the past 3 years, I wouldn't say he's drafted great and deeper in the rounds, but we still have a good many of those players from the top 3 rounds at least.
Well, they have nobody from the 2009 draft left.
Yeah.
That was garbage. Ziggy Hood should not have been our first-round pick that year. He's not a complete bust, but he shouldn't have been our first-round pick.
He's a bust.
Mendenhall's not even in the league anymore.
Please believe.
He retired, though. He's a weirdo.
On the defensive side, what would you like to see in best case scenario? What would you want them to go after first? A corner, a safety, or a linebacker?
It's really hard. If the top cornerback starts to drop enough that the Steelers would be able to make a deal to move up, I would be extremely open to that. They don't put a big value on the corner position. I see it a different way. In today's league, the cornerback position, I know you say that every corner gets burnt, and I agree with that, but I was watching ESPN today. Only 13% of the pass plays against Seattle's defense went to the Richard Sherman side.
Well,
13%. You take an entire side of the field away from a quarterback when you can get a top flight corner. And yeah, he may get burnt a few times during the year, but that doesn't change the fact that the other team throws 87% of the time to the other side of the field. It makes it so much easier to play defense when they're completely afraid to throw at one guy.
My brother actually sold me on the second corner he mentioned, the guy that got suspended for choking his coach.
Is it Latrell Sprewell's son?
We actually talked about Latrell Sprewell after that segment.
You know, he invented the spinning rim, his company. He was the first company to sell spinning rims.
Yeah, the Sprewells. I remember that.
Yep. Now he's in jail, I think. I don't really know that. I just figured.
You just figured. Huh?
He sold crack. Dude's in
Still
jail.
spinning.
But really, I like that second corner. If they can't move up for that first corner he was talking about, he even said the second corner could possibly drop to the second round because not many teams are very trusting in him right now since he choked out the coach. But like I said, choke Todd Haley.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say, best case scenario, dude comes in, plays great, chokes Todd Haley. Haley has to go to the hospital. They never bring him back because the quarterback coach becomes the offensive coordinator and we win the Super Bowl. That's a win-win-win-win. And then we boot Haley out of the city because we don't even want trash like that in this great city.
Go back to Kansas City.
Send him the
Which
draft.
is not even in Kansas. You don't even know how to name your cities.
I know, that's ridiculous. Let's have a Delaware City in in Pennsylvania.
So you say corner first if the best player's there, if we can go up and get them, take a corner. Easy.
Linebackers should be out of the question.
They need linebackers, man.
Yeah, but we should have. If you ask me, we should have picked up Denard last year instead of Shazier.
Well, we should have drafted Mosley instead of Shazier is what we should have done.
I'm still not. I like Shazier. I think his skill set offers a lot to our defense.
Well, what
He
did they
was
think
hurt
he was
this
going to
year.
do? Be able to cover linebackers in? I think that's
They
what
wanted
they
to play
wanted.
the James Ferrier position.
I thought they wanted him to
Scout
come in
against the run and be able to cover the middle. Shazier,
I don't
to
see
them,
him stopping no run plays.
looks like he'll bulk up, dude. He's young. This is only his first year.
Yeah.
They want him to be able to play the cover 2 defense. The Tampa 2, similar style. You need to be able to be strong against the run and be able to move fast, sideline to sideline. Not necessarily running downfield with guys, but side to side, hitting the gaps,
So
that's what he needs to do.
if linebacker's out of the question, what do you think then? Safety or corner?
Both, either one.
Either one?
I wouldn't take
No.
a safety. I don't like Mitchell, but I like Shamarko, and I know they're not going to get rid of Mitchell this year.
And the Steelers' philosophy, used to be take the best athlete available, whoever's there, no matter what position.
Like my brother was saying about Shamarko, though, is that he can't figure out the plays. He doesn't know.
That was in Dick LeBeau's defense, and that's what the big knock is. Apparently, everybody hates on Dick LeBeau
You
now.
got to get it right now, though.
Well, he's with Keith Butler, who's supposed to be simplifying this defense and making it easier
Yep.
for these young players. So there's no reason he can't be successful. Listen, if Ike Taylor can learn how to play defense for
Don't
the
get me
Steelers,
wrong.
anybody
I
can. He
don't-
can't even spell his first name.
I don't hate Shamarko, but it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to bring someone else in here. A free safety, too. Mike Mitchell isn't the answer. We could actually cut him, not now, but in a year or two, when let's say if we do draft someone, get a little playing time this year, take over the starting role in a year or two. Because Mike Mitchell is not the answer. He's not going to be around for 5 years. Yeah, we can't cut him now, but there's no way in hell he's going to be around 5 years from now.
I would just try to get somebody who can start right now if you're getting a first-round pick, because the defense needs a starter right now.
If you
if
can.
I'm looking to replace Mitchell, it's the year after, or free agency or something the year after. I
gonna be
don't
tough
think
to
I want to
get-
waste my first-round pick to replace a guy who's not even going to be replaceable for at least a year or two.
Understandable, but you might have to do the same thing at corner or linebacker right now. It's not. There's nothing guaranteed about where their position is right now at pick 22 that's going to get them a bona fide starter first year.
Well, honestly, if the best defensive tackle drops to wherever the Steelers are,
That nose tackle we was talking about sounds great to me.
it wouldn't shock me. Their defense hasn't been the same since Casey Hampton was there and in his prime. Does anybody disagree with that? Hampton
No,
was
not at all.
probably the best 3-4 nose tackle of our generation, us watching football. He never got a sack. I mean, I'm not saying never for real, but dude never got sacks, but nobody ever got past him. He took on 2 blocks every time.
Well, that was the most important thing, taking on 2 blocks. That
Right.
frees everything up.
Exactly, and they covet that pass rush so much, so the Steelers could re-sign Worlds to the deal, draft the big nose tackle. Shazier could finally fit in with the defense if he stays healthy.
And then there's a
Maybe
pass rush.
Yeah, Jones. What if the reason Jones can't get it together is because the D line's not doing what it should? I love Brett Kiesel, but it's bye time. It's Hayward, a new nose tackle to it, and then you have Jones, Shazier, Timmons, and if they bring back Worlds or maybe they sign Moats. If that nose tackle can do what he's supposed to do in the 3-4 defense, it changes the whole game. It makes everybody better. It's crazy how important that position is for our defense. You put a pass rush on, the defensive backs are better. I'm not saying Cortez Allen's ever going to be good. He's garbage. Him and Mike Mitchell should just go live together. They can do an Odd Couple
With Cam
remake.
Thomas.
Because, Matthew Perry's garbage.
All I know is with the money they're going to have, I think this defense is going to get better. Through the draft and through free agency combined, this defense is going to look better next season.
Well, I think the smartest thing they should do with their money is give it to me so I can pay off my school loans, because it's getting brutal. This interest rate's killing me. And that State of the Union address by Obama the other day where he wants to give everybody free community college, and I'm sitting here over $50,000 in debt. Where was my free community college, Obama? Well, that wraps it up. That's our special edition first round picks. I want to thank you guys for coming in studio. Thank you, fans, for listening. You guys can follow us on Twitter at bet_the_spread. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to that YouTube channel, 37 and counting, fool.
Be out.
Later.